This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 253 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. So today we are going to be speaking with Jillian Leslie, who has been on the podcast before. She was back in episode 92. So before we'd even gotten to the point of 100 episodes, Jillian was on. Definitely a great episode to go back and listen to. But today we're going to be talking about examples of revenue streams for bloggers, as Pinterest traffic is harder to come by. So you're definitely going to want to have a listen into this episode. We talk about a lot of great different ideas, examples, and ways in which you can make sure that you are diversifying your revenue streams. You also want to make sure that if you are a blogger and you are looking for the most up-to-date tips, go back to episode 242 because I shared a ton of tips that are going to be relevant for 2022 moving forward. So make sure that you also go and take a listen to that episode because you're going to find it truly so very helpful. All right, you guys, let's dive into this episode. Hi, Jillian. How are you?
I am good. I'm happy to be back here.
I am so excited to get to dive into really talking about examples of revenue streams for bloggers, as Pinterest traffic is definitely harder to come by. But before we kind of jump into that, will you reintroduce yourself to my audience? You have been on my podcast before, and we're going to make sure to link to that previous episode there as well where you talked a lot about MiloTree. But will you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I am Jillian Leslie, and I work with my husband. He's the technologist. And in 2009, and Jenny, you and I have talked about this, we are original gangster bloggers. 2009, my husband and I built a site called Catch My Party, and we've grown it into the largest party ideas site on the web. And if you ever are on Pinterest searching for party ideas for your kids or baby shower ideas, chances are you've ended up on our site. And what happened was when we're going to talk about Pinterest, but when Facebook was driving tons of traffic, it was awesome and our site was growing. And then all of a sudden, Facebook started kind of squeezing that traffic, turning off the spigot. And we noticed that we were getting a lot of traffic for Pinterest. So my husband is this technologist, and he was able to build a pop-up for Catch My Party. If you go to Catch My Party right now, you'll see it. And it pops up and it asks people to follow us on Pinterest. And by having a lot of followers on Pinterest, it signals to the Pinterest algorithm like, our site matters. And therefore, it was a way for us to continue to grow our traffic via Pinterest. And it worked really well for us. Like right now, I think we have like 1.5 million followers on Pinterest for Catch My Party. So we thought to ourselves, hey, wait a second, if this is working for us as a publisher, blogger, content creator, maybe we could roll this out for other people and it would help them grow their followers. So we did that. And we called it MiloTree, after our favorite tree in Hawaii. That's when we had that like magic moment. And people started reaching out to us and saying, well, what about Instagram? I want to grow my Instagram followers. So we built it so that you could grow your Instagram followers with it. And then people said, how about YouTube? How about Facebook? How about your email subscribers? How about a custom link to a sales page or something like that? So it's really robust. And we have all of these different ways that you can set it up so you can grow the social media platform you want or your email list. And the best part is that you are growing your most engaged followers and subscribers because they are seeing this on your site. They're consuming your content and they're being like, hey, Jenny, you know what? I like this. Yes, I'm going to follow you. So it's completely optimized because again, we use it ourselves. I'd like to say we eat our own dog food. Therefore, it will not slow down your site. We are really careful in terms of Google, and we play really nicely with your ad network. So we feel really good about our product. And so that's Milo Tree, our pop-up app. So we have Catch My Party, then we have Milo Tree, and we are actually building out something that I was just telling you, Jenny, about for people who now want to monetize their communities by creating memberships. And like Jenny, I know you have a membership. We have a membership where we coach other bloggers. And so it's just a way to use the platforms you already know to build your membership without having to come up with some sort of kind of hacked together solution that's expensive and complicated. And that is called Milo Tree Easy Payments. So those are kind of the business. Oh, wait. And I have a podcast. And in fact, after we finish recording this, we're going to reverse it. So you can come back on my show because Jenny, you've already been on my show. And that is called the Blogger Genius Podcast. And I've been not doing it for as long as you, but I'm up to like I was just looking, my 187th episode.
I love it. Yes. And that podcast, anytime you hear over 100 episodes, you know that there's going to be tons of valuable content. My listeners know that I always talk about, the more consistent someone can be with content, it only makes it more valuable, I feel like. But I am super excited because I use Milo Tree. I have used it for years, ever since I found out about it. And I do love the idea of being able to monetize those communities and those memberships, because it is something that if it had been easier, I think a lot of people would have jumped into it a little bit earlier and it wouldn't have been so complicated for me when I started.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, as we are looking for new revenue streams, it is something that is a relatively easy thing to set up, especially if you have a community. Like that's what I would say. There is money in your community. And a lot of times we're building these communities and we're offering so much free stuff that there is a way to say, hey, wait a second, I still want to offer free value, but there are people like your kind of evangelists, your true fans. Those people, chances are, would step up and pay to have a deeper relationship with you and a deeper way to consume your content.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to start off with just jumping right in. Why in 2022? Because we're recording this, it's still 2021, but we're going to be pretty close to 2022 at this point. Why is it important for bloggers to diversify their revenue streams?
I would say it's always been important to diversify, to have multiple places where you make money. But I would say those kind of shift over time. So the main thing, and Jenny, I think that you would probably agree with this, is traffic from Pinterest is harder to come by. Absolutely. And about, say, 5 years ago, you could say, you know what, I want to be a blogger and I'm going to be a food blogger and I'm going to make beautiful food and I am going to take wonderful photos and I'm going to put pins on Pinterest. And guess what would happen? Magically, you could get traffic pretty easily. I mean, in hindsight, at the time, we were all like, oh, I want more traffic from Pinterest. But now in hindsight, it's like, whoa, that was a lot of free traffic. And it's funny because in my podcast, I interview a lot of bloggers, successful entrepreneurs, people like that. And so many, especially of the bloggers who've been at it longer, say to me, I kind of backed into a business. I started this blog and then I realized I could make money from this blog and I could put ads on my blog, or sponsors were just reaching out to me. So it's funny because I think those opportunities, that kind of like, whoa, I magically have a business, aren't as available to us in that way as sponsors have become more sophisticated and as getting traffic has become more, you have to be more intentional about it. I think we need to be intentional in our businesses, looking for ways to monetize beyond just like, hey, I could slap some ads on my blog and look at that. The money just kind of rolls in.
Yes. And I think too, like also having still, I feel like we're still dealing with it, of course, with COVID and the pandemic and things that it changed, the way that advertisers, we saw RPMs just drop drastically and we saw sponsorships sort of start to, go away for a bit there when the pandemic, when everything was really shut down, that you just cannot put all your eggs into one basket. It is just not smart.
No. And in fact, think about those people, for example, who got onto Instagram, grew their Instagram following, and started to build businesses off of Instagram.
Right.
And it's like you leave yourself so vulnerable, even though you're like, yeah, but I mean, come on, like Instagram's always going to be the foundation of my business. And it's like, this is not my first rodeo. So I have seen like when I was telling that story about Facebook, like there was a moment when all of a sudden Facebook was kind of tightening that spigot of traffic. And I looked at David, my husband, and I'm like, are we going to go out of business? And so again, like we learned that. And then we were like, no, we need to pivot, and we need to pivot to Pinterest and other ways and SEO in order to grow our traffic. So I feel like just give platforms long enough and they will start to evolve. And you might benefit from that evolution, or you might be hurt from that evolution. So it's about staying nimble.
Yes, because you said it, nimble and being able to pivot and understand that you cannot build your business on rented property.
No,
I feel like a broken record when I say this, but I still continue to see clients doing this all the time, and they just think that they can rely on it. When in reality, you don't own it. They can decide that you need to pay to play like Facebook did. We can see that Instagram has decided that they still will allow you, of course, to put up photos, but they're pushing reels. Like
totally.
They want more content. Yep. You've got to be able to roll and pivot and be willing to know that things are going to change as time goes on. So let's talk about I'm sorry.
No, that was exactly what I was going to say. Like, what are these ways that I see people making money? Is that what you were going to ask me?
Yes. The examples of revenue streams for bloggers. I really would love to give all those different examples we can possibly give.
Absolutely. What I would say is, first of all, you need a blog. You need a home base, a place on the internet that you own. It's like the hub, and then everything else, think of it as a spoke. So your Instagram is a spoke, and your email list is a spoke, and the products you sell are spokes. So that's kind of the mindset. Your blog is not just a blog, it's a home base. Secondly, then, when people say to me, okay, I want to start a blog, or I'm a beginning blogger, let's say, how can I start monetizing? And my recommendation is, yes, you want to create blog posts that get you noticed. In fact, I have a worksheet. I have a free PDF, and it is at milotree.com blog post checklist. And it will guide you through how to write an optimized blog post that gets you noticed on Google. So again, back to that example I had given you where, hey, I'm just going to be a food blogger. I'm going to take beautiful photos. I don't know what kind of recipes I'm going to make, but I'm going to just magically get traffic. Those days are over. It is about writing intentional blog posts with a goal, with a way that this post is going to monetize. All of that. So, optimizing for keywords, for example. So is it possible to be a successful blogger and get a lot of traffic and put ads on your blog to make money? Absolutely. And do I recommend? I recommend, though, you work on your blog and you don't put ads on your site until, let's say, you've got at least 10,000 page views a month. Because you're not going to make a lot of money with those ads. They're just distracting. They kind of slow down your site. So it's not like, yay, I've got, a couple people to my blog. I'm going to put up ads and I'm going to make a ton of money. No, you're going to make pennies. So is it still possible, though, to be intentional about your blog, grow your traffic, and monetize via ads? It is. It's a slower process. And again, I'd be thinking about these other pillars of your business. So the next thing I would say is start thinking about affiliates as usually the kind of blogging. And now I'm going to start to share products, brands that I really believe in. And people typically start with Amazon Associates as a way to put some affiliates on your site. However, there are other affiliate companies that I recommend you check out. And for example, let's see, I'm blanking, but
ShareASale.
There we go. ShareASale. Like a lot of fashion bloggers are using like Shop to whatever. What is it called?
Yeah.
Thank you. Like to know it. Exactly. So you can get more sophisticated. If there is a brand that you like, check them out. See if they're on ShareASale or other platforms, just because you can make more money with that. However, I don't recommend that's the end of your strategy. I would say the next piece is ready products. But what is a product? Well, you might go like, I don't know what kind of product I could make. I'm not crafty to like start an Etsy shop, and you don't have to be, but you need to be thinking about what problem you solve for your audience. And if you can lean into that and come up with solutions to their problems, you can find products. So a product might be a course. A product might be printables. A product might be like, I was thinking about this yesterday, like I make wreaths and I'm going to make this. I have this beautiful, let's say, I don't make wreaths, but this is an example. I have a Halloween wreath, right? And it's like, well, how does that, and I sell wreaths. How does that solve a problem? Well, because people want to decorate and they want to look festive. And so always kind of putting on the hat of even my, let's say, custom jewelry solves a problem because it makes people feel beautiful, or these are great gifts. That's kind of the way in. But let's say I help with parenting, right? Well, maybe I could come up with a membership where I teach people parenting techniques. So really be thinking about what products you can kind of packages. The product doesn't just mean something I can hold in my hand, but it means some way that I can monetize a solution. And I would say that's where I'm seeing the biggest growth in the people that I'm coaching, is when they can figure out how to connect to their audience and how to come up with a solution that people are willing to pay for. That is where the magic is.
Yes. No, I absolutely would agree. That is definitely, having those set up so there it is an easy funnel to understand how that problem can absolutely be solved is just so important.
And then, and one other area is working with brands. That has gotten, and Jenny, you can tell me if you agree with this, more nuanced. So it is about figuring out again who your audience is. It's funny, I just went live with my podcast episode today, and it's with a micro influencer. So this is a woman who doesn't have a huge following, but she knows who her audience is. And she's kind of social justice-y. And so, for example, she works with car brands, right? And they give her cars and she tries them out because she speaks to middle-aged women. But then what she does is she does things for good with the car. So for example, she delivers pet food to people who don't have money, who have pets and they can't afford food. There's I guess these pet food banks in the pickup truck that she is reviewing. And so she has been able to bring her goodwill, kind of shine her goodwill on the pickup truck brand, like the Chevrolet pickup truck. All of a sudden, for women who care about that and who care about pets and who love that she is doing good in the world, that halo effect, now she gets to shine that on that brand. And so it's like finding your niche, finding the way that you can speak to your audience in a new and interesting way where they pay attention. So brands are willing to pay for that for micro influencers. So it's no longer like, well, I have these huge if you have huge followings, that's wonderful. But if you don't, it doesn't mean that brands are closed to you. It means you've got to figure out how to market yourself. What is the narrative of what you can sell to that brand and why it is special?
Yes. No, 100%. I would agree. I think it's everything right now. is about engagement. I think in the past, like you said, people paid for followers number wise, and brands were also very concerned about the person, that influencer, as far as what they looked like and what they had, what age they were, and all of these crazy stipulations as far as who they were willing to work with, which never ever made any sense.
Never.
Because it's about the audience, like you said. And that's where I think the shift has come, is that brands now understand that it needs to be about that influencer's audience. Are they the right demographics? Which just means that as that influencer, you have to understand your audience, whether you are a micro influencer or you are an influencer with 1 million people following you on TikTok now. You have to know what they're coming to you for and how you can help that brand get in front of them. And creating that relationship is one of the things that it isn't as hard as it needs to be, for sure. But
Absolutely.
it's definitely about the engagement now.
And what I would say is, weirdly, as the internet has gotten bigger, I think the way to have success on it is to get smaller. And what I mean is, it's now building these one-on-one relationships with, say, your true fans, your evangelists, really saying, I see you. Again, going back to that food blogger model. So let's say I'm a food blogger and I make my blueberry pie recipe and I put it out to the world, and the world is going to consume this recipe. I don't think that's the way it works anymore. First of all, it would be like me posting this to the world, almost as if it's like the Jillian show. And the truth is, it's not the Jillian show. It's me seeing you in my audience and touching you individually. Now, can you touch everybody? No. But can you touch enough people so that they go, hey, Jillian's my girl. She's hooking me up. She's sharing tips. So it's like a way to shift your mindset. So it's less about you kind of with a megaphone speaking to, the masses. And instead it's, hey, I'm your girlfriend and I'm here to help you and help solve your problems and help make your life better.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So now we've given them a lot of different examples of ways that people can be monetizing. So if they're relying on one specific revenue stream and they want to add in one of the ones we've already discussed, would you recommend jumping in on all of the different revenue streams we've talked about, or focusing on one in particular?
That's that is always the question. If we had infinite time and infinite resources, I'd be like, do everything. But that's not true. And in fact, for most of us, time is our most valuable resource. So therefore, again, as I'm talking in terms of you speaking to your audience, and I'm saying speak to individual people, and you're like, but I don't have the time for that. Make the time just to have those one-on-one relationships so that you can hear where your audience is. So like, for example, one thing that I say is do stuff that doesn't scale. And what I mean by that is, if there is somebody that is showing up in your DMs or is liking a lot of your posts or is responding to your emails, see if you can build a relationship with that person. Maybe you build relationships with 5 people in your audience. And then you say to them, can I get on a phone call with you? And can I just hear, because let's say I'm a parenting blogger, and I focus on toddlers, right? And I get on the phone with like 5 people. And let's say, wow, they all have girls, 3-year-olds, and they all are having these certain kinds of temper tantrums. Who knows? Like, you will find out interesting information about your audience that you didn't even know. And then I would use that to guide you. So I can't say, well, focus on affiliates and don't worry about developing products, or well, I can't tell you that. What I do think is let your audience guide you. And say to them, like, what kinds of, like, maybe they like certain products and maybe they need like fidget toys or something like that. Like, I would find what they are interested in and I would use that as kind of my North Star. And then I would dig deeper than you think in that area and see if you can get traction. I always say that we are miners looking for gold. Like we are miners, like with pickaxes, and we go up into the hills and we start kind of mining. And what we're looking for are gold specks. Like, is there gold here? Should I dig deeper? And what I say is, so pick one of these different monetization strategies. And by the way, do not outfit yourself in the best mining uniform. No, put on your ratty jeans, get your cheap pickaxe, go up into the hills and start mining and seeing, like, are you seeing any sort of traction? And if you are, start mining deeper. If you're not, and you've really kind of gone, no, there's nothing here, then go to another place and start mining there. But I wouldn't start mining in 5 different places because you're not going to be able to really discover that there's gold there.
Agree. No. Oh my goodness. Yes. And I think too, part of it is now that you know that you need to mine and be able to talk to your audience, a lot of the questions I think that start to come up are, well, how do I get in contact with my people? How am I having these conversations? And if anybody has been listening to my podcast long enough, they know that Instagram stories make it the easiest to be able to do this. Whether you're doing polls, when you're doing questions, that is where you can rebuild that sense of community that I feel like so much of us felt like we lost when Facebook changed the algorithm, because we used to have those types of conversations with people there. But now you can use your stories in order to do that, which I think is just so important. So Jillian, you talked earlier about your blog post checklist. What will listeners learn from it? Because we're going to make sure to link to that in show notes. And everybody always knows, my listeners know that they can always send me a DM to be able to get anything that's in the podcast episodes. But what can they expect to find with that checklist?
It is literally a list of, I think, probably 25 things to think about when you are writing a blog post. So just overall, it will say, hey, do some keyword research to figure out what are people, remember, you always want to get in front of where people already are. So what are they already searching for? And can I write a post that is better than the posts that are ranking on the front page of Google? But I want to be careful that I'm not going after, say, Blueberry Pie, because there's no way I could go up against Food Network, or some big New York Times and their blueberry pie recipe. So is there a way that I can find my little niche in the blueberry pie world? Maybe it's gluten-free blueberry pie bars, something like that. But it will go through what you need to think about as you are writing your blog post. So for example, using bullet points and making short sentences and how to optimize your photos. I think that we open up a blank page on our blog and get a little overwhelmed. So what I want to do is, again, be your best girlfriend and be that little voice on on your shoulder going, hey, did you think about this? Hey, what about this? Have you optimized your URL? Have you made it easy to read? Those kinds of things, so that you can just kind of go through this checklist. Like what people have said to me is they printed it out, they put it on their desk, and they keep it there so that when they're writing a blog post or when they finish a blog post, they go through it and go, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? And there is I don't want to say formula, but there are certain things you want to hit in your blog post. So for example, frequently asked questions. You want to anticipate what are the questions that people would have about this blog post and spell them out, because that helps you in search. Google really likes that. And they feel it, because people typically, don't you do this? You type into Google a question. So if you can say, so maybe the question is, why do you need to warm the butter before in the recipe? And then you can answer that question. So it just kind of guides you. I want to be your girlfriend.
Perfect. So we were going to make sure to link to that in the show notes, and you guys can always send a DM on Instagram at Jenny_Melrose, and I will send that link directly to you. Jillian, where else are the best places to connect with you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm on Instagram at MiloTree. And I'm also at Catch My Party, and you can get to me either way. But truly, you can also email me. I'm at Jillian@milotree.com. If you're interested in setting up a membership, I would love you to be a beta tester of our new MiloTree Easy Payments platform. We're really excited about it and rolling it out now. And that's a great way. So just, again, as we're talking about monetization, if you have a community of people that trust you, that look to you, that consume your content. There's money to be made there. And and what I mean by that is you serve them and they pay you to have a closer relationship. I mean, it's like a win-win. So if that's interesting to you, if you're like, I have this community, I just don't know how to make money from it, come talk to me. So again, reach out to me at Jillian@milotree.com and I can help get you set up.
Excellent. Well, Jillian, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with my audience. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, this is so fun.
As you can probably tell, Jillian and I could have continued having this conversation, and we actually did. We continued it over on her podcast, and I was interviewed over there. So you definitely want to make sure that you head over to her podcast, the Blogger Genius podcast, and have a listen to that episode. But before you go, I would love to ask you that if you haven't already left a rating and review on your favorite podcasting app, that you do so. It just helps to get great guests to be able to come onto the show. Plus, it shows my episodes to more and more people. And ideally, I'm looking to help as many people as I possibly can. So you sharing and leaving a review helps a ton. All right, you guys, until next time, I will see you all then.